Inside the Magic, show number 406 for January 13th, 2013. It is Sunday, January 13th, 2013. It is show 406 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. We have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and plenty of great fun this week as we jump into the new year here. Before we get started with all of that, I invite you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, anything else you want to send in, you can do that by emailing me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Sail with the best cruise line for families. Disney Cruise Line, of course. Kids sail free, and shipboard credit offers are good for the Disney Cruise Line on select sailing, so let Magical Travel help you plan the perfect cruise vacation. Call them today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much to listeners and viewers like you for your donations, including this week's Stephen Peterson. Thanks very much for contributing to the show, and of course everyone clicking through the affiliate links over on the website as well. It all goes back to support the show, and I thank you very much for all of that. And now, let's get started with a trip around the world. And here we are, 2013. Of course, this isn't really the first show of 2013, though it's the first regular Inside the Magic show of the new year, because last week was the big Year in Review with Paul Berry from Window to the Magic. Hopefully you all have made it all the way through that. I think it was like 5.5 hours long almost. Congratulations if you managed to make it all the way through. I know there was a handful of people who tuned in live and sat there the whole time as we recorded it. And then I've heard from many of you on Twitter and on Facebook and via email that you did listen to it all and that you enjoyed it very much. So I'm glad that you did. Of course, those of you watching over on YouTube, I am back on the video version this week. 5.5 hours with somebody else talking, coast to coast via Skype is a long time to sit there and do a video version, so we don't do that. But anyway, here we are, back on the video version as well. And there's plenty to talk about this week already as we jump into the new year. Disney was not wasting any time with bringing out the big news. We're starting out with a bit of information and some excitement for the future under the banner of Next Gen. This is something we've been talking about for quite some time. It's happening out here at Walt Disney World, and this week Disney announced what they're calling MyMagic Plus. This is part of the big Next Gen project, a project that is estimated at millions and millions, if not $1 billion. In fact, it's going to improve the overall guest experience around Walt Disney World, and specifically MyMagic Plus includes something we've already talked about here on the show. It includes the My Disney Experience website and mobile app, which allows you to, look at all the usual information that you might want out of the Disney theme parks, and then some, as far as, times you can, find shows and characters and all that standard information, but so very much more, because now it's all integrating so that you can start to book many opportunities around Walt Disney World, around the parks, well in advance. This is all going to be rolling out over the next several months. In fact, some of it's already showing up in the parks. And the other part of MyMagic Plus, and I'm going to sort of go through a summary of everything that's included there, but the big part of it that was announced this week is something called the MagicBand. And that's not a word that would be new to any of you out there who have been listening for the last couple of months. It's a word that I mentioned when Disney filed the trademark. I think it was either maybe November or so that they did it. It's an RFID-based wristband that Disney's going to be utilizing, or rather guests will, around the parks to activate a number of really unique and almost futuristic kind of opportunities that should really be a very good thing if it's rolled out quite perfectly. So let's get to kind of a summary of how all of this is going to work. Basically, it's going to start over the next couple of months, first with Walt Disney World hotel guests. Then eventually it's going to roll out to all guests, including annual pass holders and anybody who just buys a ticket for a Walt Disney World park. The summary of the offerings that are under this umbrella of MyMagic Plus are the MagicBand, as I just said, this little rubber wristband that we'll get to the functions of that in a second. FastPass Plus, which I've certainly been talking about on the show for a number of months now. The new version of FastPass, we're going to be able to walk up to attractions, simply tap what we thought was just going to be an RFID card, but also now this wristband, and you will have already pre-selected times for different rides, shows, even parade and fireworks viewing areas, character meet and greets. All of that you can predetermine on the website or on the app before you even get to Walt Disney World, and using the MagicBand system, or it could still be a card. You can tap it up against there when it comes to be your time, and you go right in without waiting in line. Now, it's unclear as to exactly how many Fast Passes you'll be able to schedule in advance. Some articles have been saying 3, though tests in recent weeks that have gone on with Fast Pass Plus have had 4 or 5 in a day. It seems that Fast Pass Plus is going to be restricted to 1 park per day, so that you can go, we know we're going to the Magic Kingdom, so let's pick out 3 or maybe 4, maybe 5. I don't know. It's not quite clear as to who's going to get how many Fast Passes. That's a detail that's going to come out in the future as this all begins to be rolled out officially. Fast Pass Plus has not started quite yet, but as I said, it will be available to reserve all kinds of interesting things that normally you would wait in line for, or wait hours to find a parade spot or something like that. You'll be able to do that a little bit more easily. It's all going to be linked to your Disney account online, so you can set up not only all that, but your MagicBand. You can pre-register it before you get to the park, so you don't have to do anything once you get here. When you book a Walt Disney World vacation, if you're staying at a hotel, you'll automatically be given a MagicBand for everybody in your party. If you don't stay at a hotel, you're actually gonna have to buy the MagicBand. You don't have to. If you want one, you have to buy it. Otherwise, you'll have an RFID chip in your park ticket, so you can just use the park ticket the exact same way you'd be able to use a MagicBand. Be good for FastPass Plus and a number of other things that I'm about to talk about, so it's just up to you if you want to wear this wristband all day. The wristbands will be rubber, the MagicBands, not paper. They'll be reusable. They'll across multiple visits. They're not necessarily disposable. You want to keep them around. Of course, you want to keep them secure too, because it's linked, as I said, to your Disney account. Now, the MagicBands will be so much more than just FastPass Plus. It's going to be room keys. You're staying at a Walt Disney World hotel, there's RFID entry into the hotel rooms, so you'll be able to just tap your, well, if you're wearing the wristband, you'll be able to tap your wrist up against the entry, the lock for your hotel room, and you get right in. Be used as your park ticket to get into the parks. Several months ago, we talked about turnstile-free entry. The first tests were over at Epcot. They have since rolled out this on all the parks at Walt Disney World. They're still working on it, but there are now signs pointing Walt Disney World Resort guests to specific areas that just have the little circular Mickey head in a little glowing circle on a post, and that is where you'll tap your room key or eventually your MagicBand up to that to get into the park. You don't have to wait through a turnstile. You can simply just walk up, tap away, and move right in. Similarly, when you go to buy something, merchandise or dining location, there'll be a similar Mickey head, the 3-circle Mickey head, and you just tap on that in order to pay. So PhotoPass is also going to be integrated with this as well. So everything all coming together under this MyMagic Plus program. As I said, it's going to be available to everybody, park regulars, annual pass holders, and the usage is going to be a little bit different across the different ticket types, but for the most part, it'll be essentially the same system for everybody. It's going to be free. That's very important. Other than the guests who are not staying at a hotel or not annual pass holders, you just bought a ticket for Disney World. If you want a MagicBand, you have to pay for that. Other than that, completely free. Annual pass holders will get a MagicBand. Hotel guests will get a MagicBand. People who purchase a photography package will get a MagicBand. And all of the services, FastPass Plus, My Disney Experience, Touch to Enter, Touch to Pay, everything else all going to be included in your admission. Whether or not it's going to make admission prices go up, well, we'll see. But it is included. You don't have to pay any extra for these services, just like you don't have to pay any extra for the existing FastPass service. Speaking of the existing FastPass service, Disney's been really elusive when asked, what about the current FastPass system? Is FastPass Plus going to replace the current system where you have to go and put your ticket in and get the paper system, etc.? The FAQ that was up on the My Disney Experience website for a little while, a couple weeks ago, and then it was taken down, mentioned that you will actually have to switch your ticket for an annual pass holder from traditional FastPass to the new system, insinuating that it would be an either-or. But that's not clear yet. Disney's not quite talking about what is going to happen to the old FastPass system yet. I think they're going to wait and make sure that FastPass Plus is working as well as they hope it will before making any sort of distinction there between one or the other. The Magic Bands are going to be fairly simple looking, the ones that they're going to quote-unquote issue to you, but there will be other options available. There will be customization options, things you can hang from them, ways of customizing. There'll even be specifically printed ones for different Disney properties. One, Pirates of the Caribbean MagicBand has already been spotted in a promotional image that Disney released about all these topics. And so a lot of merchandise opportunities there that you'll be able to buy stuff to add to your to customize your Magic Band. Now, no information is actually going to be stored on the Magic Band itself. Your credit card number is not going to be stored on there. Your name, your whatever information you've given to Disney, your birthday, etc. It's actually going to be stored on some secure database somewhere, and the Magic Band is going to have a code on it, and that will link to that database. So the Magic Band is completely able, if you were to lose it, you tell a cast member, you tell guest services, you call a phone number, you tell them, hey, I lost my Magic Band, you give them some information to verify who you are, and they'll disable it. So if you do lose it, you know, it's like kind of like losing a credit card. You want to take care of that immediately, especially if you have in fact linked it to a credit card because of that tap to pay notion. You could theoretically, if somebody found a Magic Band on the ground and hasn't been deactivated, they could pick that up, walk up to a merchandise location, and buy something using that no signature required. Purchases of $50 or more, you actually do need a PIN, so that's helpful. But under that, you just tap and walk away. So you definitely want to be careful about that. Here's one interesting note about the possibility of the future of this technology. It's not just for park entry. It's not just for FastPass. It's not just for all of these sort of things that we know already. It's also to make the overall experience a little bit more magical, if you will, around the Disney parks. Let's say you've decided to allow Disney to share some information with cast members, with some characters around the parks. Well, if you've told Disney that you are there celebrating a birthday, let's say, well, you can go to a character meet and greet if you have tapped your Magic Band up to the post in advance when walking in. Well, the character you're about to walk into suddenly knows your name. They know your birthday, if it's your birthday. They know if you're celebrating something else. They know a little bit of information about you, and that can sort of create that extra magical experience when, maybe, let's say, your child walks into the room, and the example that's being given is that Cinderella already knows his or her name as you walk in, which is you know, that's going to be one of those cool things. I think there's going to be a lot of great possibilities there. In addition, an example was given that Scuttle, the audio animatronic in the Journey of the Little Mermaid ride out here in New Fantasyland, is apparently going to be able to converse with guests in some fashion, also via this MyMagic Plus technology. So there's a lot of interactive experiences planned for the future. It'll integrate into a lot of these interactive cues, which are lumped into the Next Gen project, and so much more. So there's a lot more to come. This is definitely not the end of all this. In fact, it's just the beginning of sort of the future of what the Disney Walt Disney World park-going experience is all about, and that's an important distinction there. Disneyland is not getting any of this, at least not now. It is exclusive to Walt Disney World for the moment, and so we'll see where that goes. I haven't had a chance to personally try any of it out. It is a slow rollout right now. FastPass Plus not available quite yet, but a lot of the touch to entry to enter the parks and touch to pay is already available, so it is on the way very, very soon, and should be fun to watch. So that wasn't the only big news that came out of Disney this week, out of the parks. In fact, the next bit affects the parks out here in Florida as well as in California. A lot of changes in leadership took place this week on both coasts. Current Disneyland president George Kalogridis is coming out here to Florida. He has been named the new president of Walt Disney World, replacing Meg Crofton. Meg Crofton is going to remain as president of operations for Walt Disney Parks and Resorts for United States and Paris, but she is not going to be specifically president of Walt Disney World. Very good news as far as I'm concerned, because Kalogridis has done wonderful things for the parks out in California. He's been there for a few years. He's sort of been overseeing this grand, billion-dollar investment into Disney California Adventure and so much more. Definitely a nice guy. I've had a chance to talk to him a couple of times. He's actually a Central Florida native. He was born out here in the Orlando area, went to UCF, also worked at Disney's Contemporary Resort back in 1971 when Walt Disney World first opened, stayed with the company, worked worked his way all the way up to vice president of Epcot, then moved out to California to become president of Disneyland, stayed there for the last few years. Now he's coming back to head up Walt Disney World. Actually, back at the grand opening of Cars Land back last June 2012, I asked George Kalogridis about his transition from Florida out to California, and he said that the two are pretty similar. He said, other than the humidity, very similar in many respects. So he definitely has an understanding of both coasts, and it'll be fun to see what he offers out here at Walt Disney World. Now, taking the spot of president of the Disneyland Resort is going to be Michael Koglaser, who is currently the vice president of Disney's Animal Kingdom. The name may sound familiar to you because I had a chance to talk with him briefly back, I think about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. Losing track of time here. I think it was 2 years ago when the Wild Africa Trek made its debut at Disney's Animal Kingdom. He was there for the debut of that. Nice guy. I don't know a lot about his leadership abilities, but he's been with Animal Kingdom for a few years now. Now he's going to be heading up the Disneyland Resort. A few other changes that took place this week in leadership. Josh DeMero from Adventures by Disney is becoming the new vice president of Disney's Animal Kingdom, taking Michael Koglaser's role. And Tom Wolber from Disney Cruise Line is moving to the head of Downtown Disney and Disney Sports. All of this is going to be effective February 1st, not too long from now. All right, now let's move to the parks. We're over at Epcot in the France Pavilion. Recently mentioned that the new restaurant has opened there, and now the new version of the bakery has opened. And I hesitate to say these names because they're very French, and I'm terrible with French pronunciation. I literally cannot pronounce the name of this new bakery. Les Halles Boulangerie Patisserie or something. Yeah, so French bakery is all you really need to know. It's bigger and it's better. Also over at Epcot in the Innoventions area, a new exhibit is open from sponsor IBM. It's called IBM Think. There's an interactive digital wall, there's a 10-minute movie, and there's a whole bunch of touch screens, so more stuff to play with over at Innoventions. Now, we've been playing a lot of Frontierland music here, and that's for a very good reason. Out at Disneyland this week, something old has returned in a new way. The Golden Horseshoe Revue Salute made its debut just a few days ago out at Disneyland in Frontierland. It's part of Limited Time Magic, the promotion for 2013. Going to have much more on that a little bit later in this week's show, but here I did want to mention what is upcoming for Limited Time Magic, because it is more than that. Both out here at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland. Just a couple of days ago, Disney announced the next Limited Time Magic offerings out here at Walt Disney World from January 14th to January 20th at Epcot in the Canada Pavilion will be something called Winter Wonderland. They're going to have snow flurries there, quote-unquote snow, not real snow, probably the same sort of snow you see on Main Street. Also have Disney characters. Now, they haven't said which characters will be there, though they did show a picture of Donald Duck looking rather Canadian. There'll be photo opportunities, autographs, all that kind of thing. Set times will be 10:30 a.m. to 2:10 p.m. and then 3:05 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. during those dates that I just mentioned. Meanwhile, out at Disneyland, Bayou Bash is returning this year, technically under Limited Time Magic, but really it's just a return of the same thing that they did last year, featuring Princess Tiana, Louis the alligator from The Princess and the Frog, and a whole bunch of other Mardi Gras-inspired entertainment and food. It's going to be for 4 weekends, January 18th, January 25th, February 1st, and February 8th. Those weekends, jazz music, Cajun food, all in New Orleans Square at Disneyland Park. Of course, the Golden Horseshoe Revue Salute is also going on simultaneously with that on select days through February 4th, and again, more on the Golden Horseshoe in just a little bit. Now, other news from Disneyland that came out this week is a new stage show on the way to debut in the summer of 2013. It's called Mickey and the Magical Map, and it's going to be in the Fantasyland Theater, which has been home to the Princess Fantasy Fair for quite some time now. It's finally going to get a show because, of course, Fantasy Fair is moving over by Sleeping Beauty Castle in a whole new way. That's under construction now, but Mickey and the Magical Map is going to basically tell the story, or a story, sort of beginning with the wizard Yen Sid, who has a map with magical transportation abilities. Of course, Good old Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey Mouse wanted to get a hold of that, and he goes on a journey along with the audience through a bunch of Disney worlds and characters throughout the years, from the Jungle Book to Tangled and many, many more. So all of that's going to begin summer 2013. On a related note, the Blue Sky Cellar over at Disney California Adventure is currently closed to reopen just a few days from now, about a week or so, January 19th. And when it does reopen, it will feature artwork and models from Mickey and the Magical Map, as well as the Fantasy Fair that's under construction at Disneyland Park. Also at Disneyland, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is currently closed for a big refurbishment most of the year. In fact, it's about a 9-month refurbishment, multi-million-dollar refurbishment that they're going to be really going through and giving it a complete overhaul. It's going to be the same ride, essentially, same sort of track, same sort of vehicles, same sort of mountain, but they're all just giving it a big sprucing up. So if you're heading out to Disneyland during the first 3 quarters of the year, don't count on riding Big Thunder. Now here's something interesting that started this week at the Disneyland Resort. Apparently there's been a problem lately with some local vendors violating Disneyland rules by sort of renting out or leasing multi-day tickets to park goers. That is, let's say you have a 4-day ticket, but you only get to go for 2. Well, you want to get that cheaper price because buying more days gives you a cheaper price. So some folks decided, well, I'll buy the 4-day ticket and I'll rent it out to you for a day and you for a day and then you for 2 days and, charge a little bit extra, but still, it's a deal for everybody. Well, that's against the Disneyland rules, and it's been going on for quite some time. So Disneyland and Disney California Adventure have finally taken some action against this by actually snapping photos of all visitors who are entering the parks using these multi-day tickets. I think it's only 3 and 4 plus day tickets, and the photos will then appear on the tickets themselves. They take it as you enter the park, and then you have to go get it put on your ticket, etc. Or rather, it's it's not going to be on the ticket, but it's on the ticket window machine. As you walk in, it gets stored associated with your ticket. And so as you enter and you scan your ticket the next day, then the cast member standing there taking your ticket will be able to see the picture, and if you don't match what's in your picture, well, you can't use that ticket. So that's how they're going to stop that from happening. Of course, the whole photo taking part is really slowing down the lines. They're having special turnstiles devoted to the folks with these multi-day tickets, and Disney seems to still be trying to figure this whole notion out, but apparently it's a fairly sizable problem. Speaking of things that are sizable but completely unrelated to tickets, over at Universal Studios Hollywood, a new addition to Transformers The Ride 3D showed up recently. It is Megatron in the form of a walk-around character joining Optimus Prime and Bumblebee in the California theme park. Of course, Transformers The Ride 3D is still under construction out here in Orlando, scheduled to open in a few months in time for summer. Now let's turn to the world of movies, where it was announced this week that a new Pixar short would be debuting in front of Monsters University when that hits theaters on June 21st of this year. The short is called The Blue Umbrella. As you might imagine, it stars an umbrella. It's an umbrella with a face, and there's also a red umbrella with another face, and they seem to have taken a liking to each other in some sort of way. So that short is going to be, again, in front of Monsters University. I'm looking forward to seeing both. And of course, Monsters University is the prequel to Monsters, Inc., which everybody's been looking forward to for quite some time. But also related, Monsters, Inc. is coming out on Blu-ray 3D. Not too long from now. It's going to be hitting shelves in an Ultimate Collector's Edition 5-disc combo pack on February 19th. Likewise, also recently announced is the release date for Wreck-It Ralph, which was a very successful, very, very good movie. That's coming out a week before that, February 12th, but not in the way you might think. Wreck-It Ralph's actually coming out in an early release, an HD Digital and HD Digital 3D. That means they are downloads. You can't buy the Blu-ray that day, can't buy the DVD that day. It's February 12th only for those digital downloads. Then, March 5th, almost a month later, is when the Blu-ray and the Blu-ray 3D and the DVD and all that stuff is going to come out. So it's the first time ever Disney has done that, and I suppose Wreck-It Ralph is an appropriate movie to try it out with, being the whole video game digital concept there. Speaking of Wreck-It Ralph, the 2013 Oscar nominations were announced this week, and Disney had 5, plus a bunch more if you count the movies that Disney distributes. The rundown for Disney is 3 nominations for animated feature film this year for Brave, Frankenweenie, and Wreck-It Ralph. It's up against Paranorman and the Pirates, Band of Misfits. It's interesting to note that 3 out of those 5 are stop motion, not CG. So an interesting year for animation. In the animated short film category, Disney's nominated for Paperman, which ran ahead of Wreck-It Ralph. It's nominated against the shorts Adam and Dog, Fresh Guacamole, Head Over Heels, and Maggie Simpson in The Longest Daycare, which I thought was brilliant. Then again, so was Paperman, so we'll see what takes the award there. In the category of visual effects, Marvel's The Avengers was nominated. It's going up against The Hobbit, Life of Pi, Prometheus, and Snow White and the Huntsman. And that's it for the Disney nominations specifically, although Disney did distribute the DreamWorks film Lincoln. Fantastic movie. The movie that has received the most nominations out of anything this year with 12, including Best Picture, Lead Actor, Directing, Original Score. It goes on and on. In fact, for that score nomination, John Williams, the amazing John Williams, has received his 48th Oscar nomination, which is more nominations than any living person. But he's not quite up there with Walt Disney yet. Walt Disney still holds the record for the most lifetime nominations with 59, but Williams is getting pretty close. He's only 11 away, so if he continues to compose films, for a while, he may reach Disney's record, who knows. But the Oscars are going to be on ABC, hosted by Seth MacFarlane. In the world of Broadway, it was announced that Mary Poppins is going to end its Broadway run on March 3rd to make way for Aladdin. Now, the Aladdin part's actually not official quite yet. Disney hasn't confirmed that, however. It's 99.9% confirmed, I suppose. Spring of 2014 is when Aladdin is supposed to open. And in the world of video games, just a couple of days from now, Disney will unveil Disney Infinity from Disney Interactive. It's supposed to be this new, I don't know what it's supposed to be, actually, because they haven't unveiled it yet. There are rumors that it's going to be like Skylanders with little figurines. There are other rumors that say it's going to be this massive sort of toy box, as it's been codenamed, apparently. Perhaps a gaming console, perhaps some sort of integration of multiple platforms and this open world where you can play as all these different Disney characters. I don't know. Nobody's really quite sure what Disney Infinity means just yet, but head on over to InsideTheMagic.net in the coming days to find out exactly what it is. It's supposed to be pretty exciting. And finally, in the world of music and in television, Tron Uprising, the soundtrack, has come out from Walt Disney Records. It's from Joe Trapanese, who also worked with Daft Punk on the soundtrack of Tron Legacy. The show's been great as far as I'm concerned. However, it's done very, very poorly on the air. Its fans love it. Unfortunately, there are far too few of us fans of it, and apparently it's been canceled. There will be no second season of Tron Uprising. I think there's only 3 episodes remaining, but the soundtrack's out there, and if you liked Daft Punk's soundtrack to Tron Legacy, this is kind of a variation of that, a little more score-like, not quite as much electronic, dance music sort of thing, but it's still very good. I definitely, it's available on Amazon and on iTunes as digital downloads. And that is it for your news from around the world this week. And this week's tip comes in from Kathleen, who writes, when we went to Walt Disney World in December of 2009, I have a hard time walking long distances and sometimes use a wheelchair. We didn't have a car and relied on the hotel buses to get us to and from the parks, and I was very shocked to find out that the bus stops for area hotels outside of Disney property were not covered, and I had no place to sit, while the bus stops for Disney resorts were not only covered, but had benches to sit on. So I would recommend, if you intend on staying at one of the area hotels and have difficulty walking, to rent a car, avoid the bus stops altogether. Kathleen, I would even go a step further and say just avoid the buses completely around Walt Disney World. Yeah, Disney makes it quite a bit more convenient than some that you would find in the area hotels, like you said, but really the bus system is very, very inconvenient and slow. And yeah, it does cost a little bit extra to rent a car for the day just to get from park to park, and of course you'd have to pay for parking, etc. But the buses it's just such a hassle. It takes so much time out of your days to utilize that system that I have never been a fan of even remotely dealing with it. If you can deal with having a car, it just helps you so much. And of course, if you're staying at the hotels, then parking's included and all of that, so maybe you don't have to pay extra. So there it is, tips for getting around Walt Disney World. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And now, before we get to feature here on this week's show, let me put in a word about Capturing Magic. The new Capturing Magic iPhone apps are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation, whether you're at Disneyland or Walt Disney World. Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities to capture before, during, and after your trip, and it is the perfect way to ensure you don't miss any of those magical moments while you're in the parks. The app will remind you of desired photo ops on your list when you're near those locations, and then whenever you take a photo, you can use the app to mark off who's in the picture and on what camera you took it or it was taken, to easily find and export and organize those pictures later. You can even email yourself a list of all the photos that you took during your trip. Capturing Magic, the iPhone apps, are available now in the iTunes App Store.
Here it comes. An Inside the Magic Blu-ray review.
The Blu-ray I want to talk about on this week's show is Frankenweenie, a movie that I absolutely loved. Could not wait for this to hit home. It did this week, released just a few days ago on Blu-ray and DVD and 3D Blu-ray and all that good stuff. And this home release is really quite fantastic. The movie itself, as it did in the theaters, looks phenomenal. It's a stop-motion movie in black and white, of course, from Tim Burton and many other talented artists. It's a movie that is just fun. It's a sort of retelling of the classic Frankenstein story in a Tim Burton kind of way through children and a resurrected dog instead of a monster. And it's sort of a version of Tim Burton's old Frankenweenie short film that he did for Disney many years ago. This is the movie that he's always wanted to make out of this story, and he did it in such a fantastic job. It didn't do as well at the box office as I would have wanted it to, as I'm sure they wanted it to. It is nominated for an Oscar now, though, which is fantastic. And it's just a great, great movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly, highly recommend it. But specifically about this Blu-ray release in 3D as it did in theaters, it looks amazing. CG looks good in 3D, but there's nothing real there. They try to make it look as real as possible, and Pixar does a wonderful job with that, but it is still CG. But then when you take stop motion, where they've crafted everything and they've moved it frame by frame, 24 frames per second, and it just takes them years and years to create a stop motion film, and they shoot it in 3D, and it just looks incredible when you watch it back in 3D up on a big screen. Though it is in black and white, you forget that. You get drawn completely in. It all feels very real. It never feels like you're looking at miniatures. It is just a wonderful way to watch a stop-motion film. And really, I've tried watching this Blu-ray a little bit in 3D and a little bit in 2D, and the 3D just drew me right in. I thought with the 2D version I was definitely missing something, so I highly, highly recommend the 3D version of Frankenweenie if you have a 3D TV or projector or something at home. It's definitely worth getting, and certainly the Blu-ray over the DVD. There's so much amazing detail that was put into this film, into every little miniature that was made for all the scenes, not just the characters, but all the sets, and everything had to be created by hand and dressed in all these little miniature sets. It's really unbelievable. Now, the bonus features really go into all the details of everything that I just said. Miniatures in Motion is the name of this excellent sort of mini documentary. It's in HD. It's not in 3D, unfortunately. None of the bonus features are in 3D. But it's 23 minutes long. A really great in-depth sort of step-by-step through the entire process of making Frankenweenie. It's hosted by producer Alison Abade, although it has some clips from Don Hahn and also executive producer as well as director Tim Burton. And she kind of walks you through everything from creating the models and painting them and creating the sets and putting every little tiny detail in and even repairing them as they get broken during the stop motion process or have a little paint touch-ups here and there, all the way down to moving around the little pupils in their eyes and all of the design work and the step-by-step motion, stop motion. It's just a wonderful look into how this film was made. It really gives you much greater appreciation for it. There's also a 5-minute sort of mini featurette on the Frankenweenie touring exhibit, which I've talked about here. I saw it at San Diego Comic-Con. That's where this piece was actually shot. Right there on the show floor of Comic-Con. It was also on display at Disney California Adventure for a while, and it toured around the world. And if you didn't have a chance to see that, you can certainly go watch my video of it and see my photos that are over on InsideTheMagic.net, but you can also see this 5-minute little featurette on the Blu-ray. Also included, naturally, is the original 30-minute live-action Frankenweenie short from years and years ago. 1984 is when Tim Burton originally made the film. And, watching the stop-motion movie and then watching the live-action short, there are an incredible number of similarities. I mean, there's almost a shot-for-shot a comparison that you can be made. Some shots are nearly identical between the two. Of course, it is essentially a remaking. It's, well, not a remake, but a telling of the same story. But it is it is fun. It's a good short film that's fun to see, sort of the live action version versus the miniature one. Then new for the Blu-ray is also a short called Captain Sparky versus the Flying Saucers. It's only 2 minutes long, so it's a really short. So definitely more of a bonus feature on the Blu-ray, but it is fun. It's a stop motion bonus featuring Victor and Sparky and a few other characters, and it's a cute little short to enjoy for all you Frankenweenie fans out there. There's also a music video from the Plain White Tees, which, I'm usually not a fan of the music videos on Blu-rays because I don't really like the band so much, but there it is. And then there's a whole bunch of trailers, both in 2D and 3D. Oz the Great and Powerful, the trailer for that looks great in 3D. And so there it is. Frankenweenie Blu-ray, definitely a must-own for anyone who liked the movie or is curious about it. If you haven't seen it yet, I do highly, highly recommend it. I really, really enjoyed it, and in 3D, it just looks absolutely phenomenal. So the Blu-ray 3D, DVD, all that good stuff is out now. And now, before we jump into the main feature on this week's show, let me put in a quick word about somebody else, or rather a different company, and that company is Lanyard Lab. Of course, it is the business that I run when I'm not doing Inside the Magic. Over at lanyardlab.com is the place you want to go to customize a lanyard. You know, those things you wear around the neck at conventions or schools or churches or really any organization. You can customize them completely with your graphics, your logos, your text, your colors, whatever you want to put on there. Head to lanyardlab.com, click on anywhere that it says get a quote, and once you do that, you can submit all your details to us. We'll email you back with a price quote along with a proof showing you what your design will look like, and from there you can buy it online, make any changes you want. There's no obligation to buy, completely free to preview, so check it all out over at lanyardlab.com. That's lanyardlab.com. And now I do want to talk about the Golden Horseshoe Revue Salute over at Disneyland, which made its debut as part of Limited Time Magic just a few days ago in Frontierland, of course. Now, the Golden Horseshoe Revue, the original, debuted with Disneyland back July 17th, 1955. It holds the Guinness World Record of the longest continuously running stage show for years and years and years. However, it doesn't run anymore, at least not until a few days ago. Now, the full version of the show show? Well, this is not it. It is a kind of an abridged version. Those of you looking for the old Wally Bogue comedy routine, you're not going to find it here. This is more of a musical act. You're going to find a live band, which is great. There's a sort of a pit, if you will, of the live band in front, sort of between the stage and the audience. Of course, the stage show itself features a lot of the favorite bits from the original Golden Horseshoe Revue, including those can-can dancers and plenty more. And it is included with park admission. You don't have to pay any extra to go to this show. In fact, to get a ticket, it's a pretty simple process. You just walk up to the podium probably early in the day. It's going to be pretty popular early in the day, and they have a variety of show times throughout the day: 11:30 a.m., 12:45 p.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., 5:15 p.m., and then there's some special annual pass holder dinner shows that cost a little bit extra at 6:30 p.m. But you walk up for the free version of that, the included in park admission version. They give you a seating card, tells you what time to come back and how many people are in your party, and then you return, and it's basically first come, first serve for the seating. They let you in half an hour before the show. On the back of those cards is the menu for special foods that they serve. Of course, you have to pay extra for the food, but it's sort of a sampling of interesting things to eat during this Golden Horseshoe Revue salute, including the Golden Cristo Nuggets, which are Monte Cristo sandwich, but as a nugget. Served with sliced apples and blackberry jelly. There's mozzarella sticks, chicken wings, chili cheese fries, chicken salad, and some other goodies, including a root beer float that has some interesting twists. So with a Rootin' Tootin' Barks root beer float, also a Can Delight red velvet cake with a Can Girl cookie, which is a fun little spin on there. So what is the Golden Horseshoe Revue salute exactly? What is included? What does it sound like? What is it like? Well, you're going to find out right now, because I'm going to include the entire show for you here. Buddy Jeremiah Daws was out there for the very first show, the debut show, several days ago, and well, here it is. Let's hop on over to Frontierland at Disneyland to enjoy the complete Golden Horseshoe Revue salute. It's part of Limited Time Magic.
Howdy, friends. It's almost time to start our salute to the Golden Horseshoe Revue. So please, pull up a chair, take a seat, and get ready to join in the fun. Miss Lily's almost ready to get things started, and she wants everybody to mind their P's and Q's. So please, take your seats now. It's almost time.
Well, look at here. Howdy, everybody! Oh my goodness, it is so good to be back. Now, as you may have heard, we've been away for a little while. Did you miss me? Oh, I missed you too. But we are just so delighted to be back here in our home away from home as we all gather together in our salute to the Golden Horseshoe Revue, huh? We are just so happy, aren't we, boys? However, I do have to say, I have one little tiny lament.
What's that, Miss Lily?
Since you asked. Well, boys, I've been thinking that maybe it might be time for me to settle down. Really? Boys, we have guests. Yeah, I was saying, I just think that maybe, well, I've been looking for the right man in all the wrong places. But the horseshoe does me luck, doesn't it, boys? So maybe I might have to come on home and see what we got out there. Well. Oh, hello there. Oh, I love all the little hidden treasures we have up there. I might have to take a little field trip, boys. Well, hello, Nugget. Oh, you just winked at me. See what we got down here. Ooh, a bunch of buried treasures. There's one. Oh my goodness! I can eat chili out of those dimples, honey. Yes, boys, but I just think that nowadays, well, a good man is getting so hard to find. A good man is hard to find. I always get the other kind. Just when you think that he's your man, you find him fooling around some other boy. Down, you want him to run out of town. So if your man is nice, I take my advice. Call him in the morning, kiss him every night. Give him lots of loving, darling. Treat him right, because a good man nowadays, they're hard to find. Oh, maybe I might have to beginner's luck. He is just cute as a button. He just lashed onto him like Velcro. Did you see that? Don't you worry, honey. He looks very happy. Hey, boys, can I have some house lights? I like to see what I'm getting into. Oh, look at this. Why, it's a sea of masculinity out here. Oh, I'm going to have to do a little fishing. Hello, precious. Ooh, boys, you brought in a good place. Oh, look at this. You are so cute. Oh, look at this little baby face. Well, hello, it's a little guppy. He's so cute. Oh, bless your cotton socks. You don't know where to look. I'm over here. There you go. What's your name, darling? Can you talk? Jason, that's my favorite name. Isn't that fun? Jason, how old are you? It's all right. It's Disneyland. You can be whatever age you want, honey. 30, I like that. Now, I have a question for you, Jason. Are you married? No. Yeah, he looks too happy to be married. Monday night, Saturday, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, you dug my man. Saturday night, you took your bag. Sunday night, you called out and got you up pretty good for brunch. Oh my goodness, you all just get better looking as I get closer. on Main Street. So many flavors to choose from. But you know, I gotta tell you something. The one flavor I could never resist when I was a little teeny tiny little Smitty was that good old-fashioned English toffee! Oh, he looks so good from behind. I can't wait to see the front. Come on, honey, turn that chair around. Let me see you. All the way around. Give him an encouragement here. Oh, look at this. Blue eyes. What's your name, darling? It's not Jason. That's all right. What's your name? Bill. That is my favorite name. Bill, can I have a little lap? Do you mind? Can I sit on your lap? Honey, don't worry. I've been on my lap to the napkin, all right? Let's just get cozy, you and I. Let's just move on in. He's like a feather bed. Oh, man. Is this your wife, Kim? Hi, darling. You know, he's much better than the one you brought in yesterday. Really, you want shakes, everything. Now, where do you live, Bill? Seattle. I knew I was fishing. Isn't that a long way to come and see me? Give him a nice big Disneyland welcome. Can I give you a little present to take back to Seattle? All right, sweetheart. Now, I'm going to need y'all to help me out, all right? Now, on the count of 3, I'm going to give you a little present, okay? He just says yes all the time, doesn't he? You trained him well, Mrs. Bill. All right, now close your eyes. Although I love those big blue ones. And pucker up those lips. Now, let me see. Ooh. You lucky woman, you. Close your eyes. Y'all count with me. Are you ready? Drum roll. 1, 2, 3. Come on, baby. As a matter of fact, y'all want to know what I just learned? Well, the Golden Horseshoe Saloon was Walt Disney's favorite attraction here at Disneyland. See why? Hey, Disney, you told me that right over there. Well, this was Walt's favorite booth. He used to come on in here every chance he could, and he'd enjoy the show from right where you sit. Boys, it's the VIP section from here on out. What do you think, huh? And we also learned that every single one of those Longhorns, y'all see him there? Why, he handpicked each one of those from ranches all across America. Don't you love that? Take the detail of that. And speaking of detail, it was also he who handpicked the Disney legends of Betty Taylor and Wanda. They put them right here together on this stage for 31 years. In the longest running stage show in history, and we are now in the Guinness Book of World Records. Did you know that? And now what in the world would the saloon be without some dancing girls? Am I right, boys? Well, you've been patient long enough, because ladies and gentlemen, here it comes, the moment you've all been waiting for. My beautiful girls in the say adios.
No!
Oh, I know. It's never easy saying goodbye, but, well, we think it goes down a whole lot easier in a song. It's just been great since the time you came in.
Now it's time for our vows to begin.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
Hopefully you enjoyed that Golden Horseshoe Revue salute. If you want to go watch it, well, some of you may be watching the video version of the show and you just watched it as well, but if you are listening to the audio version, you want to see that, it is available in its entirety, shot from the balcony of the Golden Horseshoe Saloon. You can see that over on our YouTube channel and on InsideTheMagic.net. Now let's get through a little bit of listener feedback to round out this week's show. Of course, in the background here, I'm playing that Tron Uprising soundtrack that I talked about earlier that just came out a few days ago, so you can enjoy that while I dive into the email, starting with an email from Sharon about the very subject that we were just talking about, the Golden Horseshoe Revue salute. Sharon writes, in response to watching the video online, all the songs were correct, the dances were correct, and the banter of the lead was correct, except she always kissed a man who was bald on the top of his head. But I would have been so angry to have rushed down there and not seen the Pecos Bill routine done previously by Wally Bogue. We used to scramble to get into one of the booths on the lower stage when he would pretend to be hit and would be spitting out his fake loose teeth. When he aimed them toward us, we would take our paper plates from lunch and hit his teeth back to him. Was he just too talented to replace? Sharon, excellent to hear from somebody who actually had a chance to experience the original Golden Horseshoe Revue, which, as I said, ran for so many years at Disneyland with the talented Wally Bogue as part of the show, along with many other talented performers. And yes, it does seem that Disneyland didn't want to replace him. He is such an icon, such a legendary part of that show, that to bring in somebody else to do his shtick probably wouldn't have worked out to anybody's favor. So they just decided, I guess, to cut out that portion of the show completely. But sort of the heart and the spirit of the entertaining portions, or many of the entertaining portions of the show, are still there. Next up, an email from Stanton, who writes, thanks for the great work on the show. Love listening to you. While I'm not 100% positive, I think the Johnny Depp effect in the Captain of Jack Sparrow show at Disney's Hollywood Studios seems to be similar to the Forbidden Journey and disaster effects at Universal Studios, and similar to bringing Tupac to life at the Coachella Festival. The effect is not unlike the Haunted Mansion Pepper's ghost trick. The drawback to this illusion, though, is getting the expansive pieces of glass. Even for the Spirit Lodge at Knott's, they were unable to get a single large piece of glass, so the view pane unfortunately has to be visible seam in it. There's a company in the UK called Musion, and they have made developments on the reflective surface aspect of the illusion. I think they've replaced the glass pane with a piece of clear mylar film, which gives larger expanses of space that they could not otherwise get with glass. The expanse is so large that nobody seems to notice the edges, making images seem to appear in open space. I'm not 100% sure, but perhaps it's how those effects are achieved with Johnny Depp. Next time at the studios or Universal, I'll be looking to see if I can see an edge to a possible mylar piece. So, well, Stanton, I think you're on the right track there. Certainly with the disaster, how Christopher Walken appears in that attraction over at Universal, that is definitely Musion. It is, Musion is it's a trademarked name. It is this company, as you said. Whether or not Forbidden Journey is using the same thing, it seems to be, in the way that they have Dumbledore in there, as well as the trio of stars from the Harry Potter series, and the way Johnny Depp appears in the Legend of Captain Jack Sparrow show also looks like the same technology. Whether or not Disney actually purchased that Musion system from that company or sort of developed their own, not sure about that, but it is definitely very lifelike and very believable. Steve from North Carolina writes in response to last week's Ear in Review show, and he says, wow, you and Paul talked for 5 hours and 24 minutes. It was a great podcast. I have several pieces of information for you. We are avid travelers and took several cruises from Long Beach when we lived in Anaheim, less than a mile from the park, but I digress. Disney Carnival Princess and Holland America have attempted to fill their ships with little success over the years. I think there are several factors that are working against the cruise lines in Southern California. First, the heavy news coverage of the problems with drug-related crime in Mexico works against trips to Mexico. Next, people who do vacation in Southern California and can afford to travel tend to fly out of California for vacations. They travel around the world, but not to Mexico. Go figure. As to food on the cruise ships, Disney food is outstanding compared to many lines. We've been on 25 cruises, so we've seen it all. And I think you nailed it when you said that a potential problem was being on the inaugural cruises. It takes a cruise staff several cruises to work out the kinks, and our food on the Wonder was fabulous. I think if you and Michelle booked a Disney cruise, you would love all aspects of it. Steve, I think you're right. We definitely want to go back. I certainly want to go ride the Aqueduct again, either on the Fantasy or the Dream, so I'm sure we'll book a proper Disney cruise, nothing media-related, not running around taking pictures and interviews and video and all that stuff. Just relax and take it all in and enjoy the food, probably that much more. So thanks for that email. Next up, an email from Catherine, who writes, "You read my letter back in September about how it seems Mater appears everywhere, from resorts to marketing to attractions to parks to anything new, and it feels like he's being pushed to be the new face of Disney. Well, now that we've gone through the holiday season, then Southern California Disney commercials have been entirely Mater-centric, with Halloween Mater, Santa Mater, billboards, park theming, ads, and even the Rose Bowl float showcasing him. Obviously, Mater is being pushed hard to promote Cars Land, but my question is this: is Mater really that beloved by Disney fans, or are we just assuming he's popular because he's being crammed down our throats every time we see him something Disney related? I'm just concerned that Lasseter is pushing too hard to create his own Walt/Mickey type of legacy and is coming at the expense of pushing aside Mickey and other more proven characters." Well, Catherine, I think the topic is still certainly relevant now. Mater is still very, very prominent, and Cars Land is still relatively new. It's not even a year old. It's barely half a year old yet. I think as time goes on, we'll see less and less of Mater and more of the traditional Disney, especially as focus shifts back to Disneyland, away from Disney California Adventure. But they want to bask in the limelight at this point and really enjoy the fruits of 5 years and $1 billion worth of labor. And Cars Land's the culmination of all of that. So I think that's why we're seeing so much of Mater now. It's happened in the past. We've seen a lot of characters come and go as sort of the face of things. Stitch certainly was a big, prominent part of Disney marketing for quite a while, and that got really annoying after a while. So I think Mater will come, he's here, and he'll go, and they'll move on to the next thing. Matthew writes in and says, "As a college student, I'm frequently reminded of how important and difficult it is to get your first foot in the door at a workplace. When it comes to Disney, I've always been told that the best way to get started is to make connections within the company, is to participate in the college program. However, I've also been told there's a requirement for first-time participants to do either the spring or the fall sessions, as the summer session is only offered to returning members. In other words, you would be required to take a semester off from school to do the internship, something that's made impossible by my financial aid arrangements. While working at Disney to create magic and memories for those around me has always been an aspiration of mine, it gets down to asking, how do I get started? And the college program seems to get all the hype. Are there other opportunities to gain connections and experience, internships, volunteering, etc., that Disney offers to students during the summer months? Matthew, very, very good question. I ran into the exact same thing when I was in college. I was very tempted by the college program, went to one of those presentations, sat through it, and then, at the end, I found out the same thing. I'd have to take a semester off from school in order to start, because I couldn't go straight into summer, because that's only for returning college program members, which was definitely a disappointment. I opted to just skip it completely because of that. I wasn't going to take a semester off from school and delay graduation. I wanted to do the whole 4 years and out thing, which is what I did. It's definitely a tough thing that you have to decide with. College program has its place, definitely a great way to get your foot in the door, but then again, you could always just apply for a job. It doesn't have to be a college program. You could simply get a job. Yeah, you'll have to pay for your, if you don't live here, you got to get an apartment, transportation, etc. What Disney pays may not cover all of that. That's kind of the advantage of the college program, is that it all wraps together, and in the end, you might make a few bucks in addition to having, a chance to pay for all of that. But if you can swing it, that's certainly another option. Of course, internships do show up. There's websites online that you can check, Disney career websites. Volunteers, there is a volunteer program as far as community service goes, but not really volunteering at the parks. There's other opportunities, though. It doesn't have to be at Disney to make those connections. If you go to any park anywhere, chances are you're going to run into somebody who worked for Disney at some point. Disney's a pretty big company and has many, many people over the years, thousands and thousands of people over the years who have worked for them, who have come and gone, and those connections still exist. I mean, Disney, even higher-ups, moved to other companies, Universal, Busch Gardens, etc., so you could look into that as well. Just a few suggestions there. The college program is not the only thing available, though it is kind of the easier thing available if you can take that semester off. A couple more emails, and then we'll wrap this up here. Karen writes in and says, thanks for the tremendous job you do with your pod and video casts and your website. So insightful and thoroughly enjoyable. I'm just now listening to your December 30th podcast mentioning the change in the discount rate for certain passes. Just a heads up, I currently have a Premier passport, and I was at the California parks December 31st, January 1st, and January 2nd. On the 31st of December, I received a 20% discount on merchandise purchases, but it went down to 15%, not 10. The food purchases we made were consistently 15%. I'm not sure if this will change further. I hope not. One last note, while I'm still not a fan of Starbucks in the parks, it is a great place to take refuge from the cold. We were pleased to receive both the 15% discount, and we're allowed to pay with our Starbucks card, allowing us to get credit towards a free drink. It helps a bit. Karen, interesting note there. Yeah, it seems the discounts are all over the place as far as what they have changed to. Disney is free to do that as of January 1st. They can change whatever they want, and it's good to hear that you got 15% still with that Premier Pass out there, but things are not quite the same out here at Walt Disney World. So I will definitely not be renewing my exact same type of pass when it comes time in a few months. And actually, that'll do it for your listener feedback this week.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And that wraps up our first regular show of 2013, coming off the big Year in Review last week. Hopefully you enjoyed the entertainment from Frontierland, the Golden Horseshoe Revue salute. Thanks very much to Jeremiah for recording that for us. Of course, you can catch the video over at InsideTheMagic.net and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/InsideTheMagic. And don't forget to pick up that Frankenweenie DVD or Blu-ray 3D at the best, because it is quite entertaining. Really looking forward to seeing what 2013 has to offer. I sense a lot of excitement coming in the very near future, so definitely going to continue for months and months and months, and I'll be sharing it all here on the show, so keep coming back for all of that. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And of course, don't forget about Capturing Magic, the iPhone apps that help you decide what, where, and how to best organize all of your photos that you take throughout Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Search for that on iTunes. Don't forget to visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And, of course, between episodes of this podcast, visit InsideTheMagic.net. It is your source for Disney and theme park news. It includes show notes for each week's podcast here, but also all of our podcasts, videos, photos, articles, and plenty more. In fact, in addition to all of that, I should have mentioned this earlier, wrote another article over at foxnews.com/travel about this whole MyMagic Plus MagicBand thing. So if you want to read even more beyond InsideTheMagic.net, head over to Fox News and check out my article there. While you're on our website, you can find the links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and keep up with all the latest and greatest fun from Disney and theme parks and so much more. So thanks to all of you for listening and for watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
At the end of every day, there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Just a dream of